So welcome back, everybody. If you're still with us, that's a good sign. Started out with like 30. I think last time we had 9. So you can see the attrition rate with this kind of material. It's just a lot to cover, and people get busy and lose focus or can't come because of other things. So that's why I think the YouTube videos will be good for folks. But Tori and I were just kind of chatting about test questions. And Tori, if you could repeat that for me.
Yeah, so I have a website that I found called Focus on Force, and it allows you to take exams, different types of exams that are 60 questions each. Just going through a lot of the material that we're covering. But what I found is, just because I guess really what it's coming down to is the way Ryan is teaching is the real world application way. But, he's so very right when it comes to taking the test. They really do try to confuse you. And me and Ryan were just talking. Maybe I could show him an example of one of those questions. But it's very frustrating because you think the answer is one thing, and according to the test question, it is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They do a lot of games, don't they? They're playing games.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, that's the best way. I think you could say that exactly.
Somebody in the group asked where you got that from. If you could link them in chat. I don't know. It's Focus on Force, right? You could probably Google it.
Yeah, focusonforce.com. It is a paid application. It's not very expensive though. I think I paid $20 for the practice exams. And it seems like they keep it up to date fairly well. I'll share my screen, Ryan, like you had asked me to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to steal their material here, but they have some test questions. And it sounds to me like they might have a couple of good security-based questions. When I say good, I mean like what you might see on the exam in reality.
Yeah, and Ryan, I don't know if it might make more sense for me to actually. What's cool about, I guess this particular. Can you see my screen? Never see Focus on Force.
No, you got to share. So I unshared. You'll see a share button in the center.
Yep, gotcha. There we go. Let me know if that works.
Yep.
Cool. So you see Focus on Force.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for this particular one, you can do two things. You can go individually, right, through the different topics, which is what we've been doing. We've been on security and access for quite a while, but I thought, let's just see how well I do on a full exam. And let me tell you, I did not do well. So what do you think would be best, Ryan, to go over just particular security and access, since that's what we've been doing?
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. So I'll just open this up, and this one's only got about 40 questions or so, usually on the specific one. So start exam. All right. So
all right. What were our rules, everybody?
Don't read the answer. Don't read the question.
Right. So what are the keywords here?
Record level security.
What does that mean to us?
And that means to us all by default. Actually, that's object level security.
That's object level?
Yeah.
So it sounds like we don't understand the concept, right?
Yeah.
So record level sharing, what does that bring to mind? How do we share a record?
Share the access, right?
Yeah, we're sharing access. We could do it with a button, remember, with a manual share. We could also do it with an account team via a Teams related list. You could share an individual record. What restricts access? It's the only way to restrict access.
Permission?
Nope. The only way to restrict access in Salesforce is through what?
OWDs?
Yep. What do they have to be set to if they're restricted?
Have to be set private.
Or?
Read only.
Public read only. What's the highest level I can share with the sharing rule?
View all.
Read and write.
Read and write. That's it, correct? So there's a bunch of stuff in there we don't know yet, right? So at this point, notice the choose to here.
Yeah, that's the part I hate the most.
So we know they're trying to trick us here. because it's what I call a 2 and 2 or a 50-50. So there's going to be two concepts that are going to be the right answer, correct?
Yes.
Which one of these are going to be the two concepts? Well, at this point, we don't really have enough in the question part of the question to define the answer to any level of, accuracy. When you say record level security, that brings up a lot of stuff. It depends, right? A lot of different variables. So now I'm going to go down into the answer set, and I'm going to start keywording the answer set. What are the keywords in A?
Roles.
Okay, what's the role hierarchy do?
Role hierarchy.
Overrides OWDs.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Actually, you have selected some settings for OWDs. For example, you have set it to private, and then you can override that setting by using role hierarchy.
Using a system of what?
System of roles and subordinates.
Correct. So if the subordinate owns the record and they have full access, what level of access will be passed up in the hierarchy?
Full access.
So if the record is owned by someone, is that controlling record level security?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so we might put a check mark next to that one. Yes?
Yes.
All right, so then B, what's the keyword?
Sharing
rule
rules.
What's a sharing rule?
is to share records with other members, other
What are we
users.
sharing?
Access.
Access, right?
Yes.
What's the highest level of access you can give with a sharing rule?
Public
Read
read
and
and
write.
write.
Read write. Can they ever be stricter than OWDs?
No.
Because we're
No.
giving access, we can't take it away, correct?
Yes.
So is B true?
No.
Does everybody agree on that?
Sharing rules can never be stricter.
They need to be
Yeah, that
right?
is true because they cannot be stricter.
Yeah, because if they got public read write and I create a sharing rule that gives them read only, what do they have?
50% read only.
No, I'm saying if OWDs are set to public read write on the left-hand side of the matrix, and there's also a sharing rule on that record or on that object that gives me read only, what's the user going to get for that record?
Read only.
Read only.
You'll get read write. It's additive
Oh, right.
on the left-hand side of the matrix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Can I take away access with a sharing rule?
Can you take away access with the sharing?
No.
You can only add.
You can only give, right?
Yeah.
So then I'll go to my third one. Organization-wide sharing defaults are all, well, go, what are my keywords?
Org-wide defaults.
Org-wide defaults, what do they do?
Wow.
Private.
Well, they set access for records a user doesn't own, right? So do we use OWDs to open up access to a user? Always?
No.
No, because what do we do with OWDs are the only way to do what?
Share records.
Restrict access.
Yeah, restrict because you can set it to private. Right?
The only way you can restrict access at all is OWDs. You can't do it any other way. Everything else is additive. Is everybody with me?
I think so.
Right.
Because what we do, the first thing we do, we check for ownership. Why?
Because we want to know who owns the record.
Why?
Because he will have the full access.
And then we can close out the whole left side of the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So is C true?
No.
Okay,
No.
what's D?
Roles.
What's the role hierarchy do?
It gives access to subordinates.
It overrides OWDs using a system of roles and subordinates. What's the highest level of access I can give?
Full
Full
access.
access.
Full access. Can I open up records with the role hierarchy to users? Absolutely, that's what it does. But can I do it horizontally?
No, not horizontally.
It's only vertical, isn't it, through the hierarchy?
Yeah.
So then what are the answers?
Got to be A and B.
Do you
That's
see
true.
how this works?
Oh, it's stressful though.
You have to understand the study guide.
Yep.
If you don't understand the terms and concepts that we keep repeating over and over and over again, there's a reason I keep repeating this stuff, right? Because otherwise, one of you would probably chosen at least one of those answers incorrectly.
Yeah, I
and
definitely
it would have been wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you were not able to use this keywording strategy to pull the concept from the question. In this case, the concept was in the answers, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because does it really, they could have gotten rid of record level.
I think that's what's throwing me off too, Ryan. It's like you said, you don't even read the question, go straight to the answer. But I do read the question, and so then I start thinking about record level security. I'm like, I'm lost immediately.
See, they know what's going to throw you off unless you got your stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've gone and been memorizing answer sets and somebody chose the wrong answers as far as memorizing Quizlets or something like this, the only way that I would ever use a test like this, I would never tell anyone to go take an online test.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't. No, I'm not saying Focus on Force is a bad resource.
Right.
I'm just saying that if you do that and you memorize the answers, if they did anything wrong, you're done.
Right.
And you're not effective at all. You have no idea what you're talking about. Does anybody have any questions on this one? We can do another one if you want.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Keywords in the question.
Users.
What's a user?
The person who will be using the platform.
Using
license.
the platform, therefore you must have a
License.
license, right? It's a seat. So they're internal folks, 5,000 internal folks. What's some more keywords here?
Permissions.
Permissions. What do we think when we hear the word permission?
Permission sets, profiles.
Maybe. What do they like to use interchangeably?
Permissions and access.
Yes. So right there, I'm drawing the matrix in my mind, right? All right.
Right.
Users, that means they have a profile, which means they have a license, which means they have permissions of some sort, or they have to have some level of access. They use that word interchangeably. I know that, and I'm not going to let them trick me. What's our next one? Big one.
Group of users.
Group of users makes us think of what?
Access, right?
Roles or profiles.
Yeah.
Which is still access versus permission. We don't know, do we?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we can get from this?
Overload of customization. Like we are doing a bulk of customization and want the best practice.
So they want to reduce the cost of customization, right? So
Yeah.
they got some users. They want to manage access and permission security with the least amount of overhead as possible. So choose 2 again here. That means 2 are going to be incorrect. Do we have enough information to know
Yes.
the answer? We do? What's the answer then without looking at the answers?
I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know. Either do I. We're going to have to pull the concept from the answer set here. You see that? We've only got a piece of the puzzle. There's several variables we need, and we only have how many? I mean, all we know now is we got 5,000 users. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's keyword the answer set. A. What are our keywords?
Profiles.
Well,
Standard profiles.
okay. So standard profiles are what?
Out of the box profiles.
Okay. What's the other keyword in that answer?
Customize?
Do we customize standard profiles?
No,
No.
we clone
No.
them.
We clone them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the answer. I only got to find the other one that isn't the answer. Do you see that now?
Yeah.
All right, what's the keywords on the next one? B.
Permission sets.
Okay, now what's that tell us? That's a big one.
That tells us about the permissions that we want to extend to a profile
Or
to a
individual
user
users.
actually.
or the permission set, right? So what we've done is we can isolate it to the right side of the matrix now, can't we?
Yeah.
I can get rid of ownership, OWDs, role hierarchy, sharing, teams, manual shares, all that is gone. I don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got to worry about what? Profiles, permission sets, and field level security on the right side of the matrix. I know I'm on the right side now. When I think of a permission set, what are the key points of a permission set?
It's for the individual
Users.
user.
It gets added to the user detail record and it's additional permissions above and beyond the profile, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So all of that plays into this to extend permissions for individuals or
Small group of users.
a group of users.
No, because it would
No.
be individual.
Well, we can create permission sets and assign it to a group of users.
Yeah, that's true. So that's got to be true then.
The keyword there, I think, is individuals or
Mhm.
small groups, right? So they're saying the key point is that you can add it to a user record. So now I might read it out just to make sure it's not the terminology isn't flip-flopped on me, because they like to pull that nonsense too. So the administrator should use permission sets to extend permissions for individuals or small groups of users as required. Think about the plunge. Isn't that what we're doing during the plunge?
Yes.
We set OWDs to private. We have the most restrictive profile as possible.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how do we extend permissions? Well, we add them to the user as we plunge, right?
Yep.
So that one's probably the answer, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keyword the next one. What's our keywords? Don't read the question.
Standard profiles. Yep.
What's a standard profile?
What Salesforce gives us out of the box?
Do we use standard profiles?
No.
No.
I wouldn't. But this still could be the answer because they did say they want to reduce overhead, right? And there's still an additional answer.
Yeah.
So see, the administrator should just assign a standard profile and create permission sets as required to add functionality. So it's not necessarily the best practice overall, but they want to reduce that overhead. That one's a question mark. I got to read the next one. You see my reasoning there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The administrator should not create a custom profile every time a user requires additional access or permission. So what were our keywords there?
Custom profile.
Should they create a custom profile every time a user requires additional access or permission?
No.
No, that'd be silly.
So is D true?
No.
Yes.
Wait.
You should not create a custom profile. Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yes, it is.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So is C true?
It's true,
Can be.
but it's not the best
But it's not the
answer, I
best
guess.
practice.
Do you see
Yeah.
how we don't know here?
See, this is why it's annoying. This
So
test.
now you have to, at this point, trust your gut. Pull the trigger.
What do you guys think? I'll you guys go. I've already failed these multiple times.
I mean, I'm going to say, and I might get this wrong. I don't know. I'm going to say the more wrong answer here is going to be C, because D you should never do.
Mm-hmm.
I would be interested to see what the answer is if you choose C if it's wrong.
Oh,
Okay,
it'll
so
tell.
I'm saying B and D.
Right. I just
Or
want
the
to see what
answer.
what their feedback is when we choose
Okay,
C.
I'll pick C then for just
Okay.
sake of this. So it was B and D,
Yeah.
and then this is what it usually gives you the reason why.
See, I don't fear these questions. You guys are still in fear of the question. Do you know why?
Because we don't know it yet.
Because you don't know the concepts that you can pull from the question. It's okay. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius, right? But if the more you are able to demonstrate and verbally talk about intelligently every concept and term on that study guide, you may as well not even take the exam.
Right.
Because even if you pass it, you still don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And it's not going to be hard to see that you're clueless. Trust me. Because we've all been clueless. We know what it's like when we ask somebody, hey, tell me how record types work. You know, you're not going to be able to do it. We can do another one if you want.
What was the rationale on C again? So it says.
Well, we had two answers that we weren't sure, but the one that was the most right, in my opinion, was D, because that's the worst thing you can do, is create a new profile every time a user requires additional access or permission.
And I think I brought this up one time too, Ryan, and I think you agreed that many times the question, you know, if it has custom in there, typically Salesforce really tries to do non-custom things for the test purposes. I'm not saying from a best practice purposes.
Well, that's on the
what I found.
admin test.
Right.
That's true. We can do another one if you want. Seems like people are liking this.
Yeah, if everyone's wants to do that, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. What are our keywords?
Profiles.
What's a profile?
Can be
Define profile.
A group of users on the permission side, what people can see and do, right?
That's it. A template that can be assigned to a user or a group of users. And it's also, it is the permission side of the matrix telling us what we can see and do with records that we have access to. So then without even looking at the answer set, they say which of the following can be controlled. Well, think about it. If I do hit edit, what can I change? Apps, tabs, system, object permissions. So C is not the answer, is it? That was a trick question.
We lost you, Ryan.
No, you lost me there.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything you said.
Okay, so I said, think about your matrix now. On the right-hand side, number 3, the profile, what can you change if you do hit edit?
Well, you definitely can do.
object permissions,
Yep.
field level security.
Yep.
That's one. What
and
if I
field level
don't?
security.
What if I don't hit edit? What can I change?
Page layouts.
Field.
Page
And
layout,
levels.
field level security, and record type settings.
Yep.
Page layouts is an answer, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Licenses are controlled where? Where do we add the license type?
User
On the
User.
user record. Where do we add the role hierarchy?
access.
We add the roles on the user detail record, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the answer is
Below
C
the
and E.
license.
Nice. Good job, team.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, when we're going through this, we should be thinking, I mean, I know it says Robin is a Salesforce administrator, but majority of these questions, we should be thinking us as the admin, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes I get confused and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm Joe employee,
No, you're
I
never
can't
going to be
change my
Joe.
role, right?
You're
Yeah,
never going
okay.
to be Joe.
Okay. So
You're
I need to
always
be
the
thinking
admin.
of me as the admin.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, let's do another one and then we'll move on. So
Okay.
go ahead, keyword it out for me.
Access.
Well,
Access.
what are they developing?
New app.
Application.
What's an application?
Custom code and fields to
Meet
fulfill a
business
business use
requirement.
case.
It's a group of objects and relationships that meets a business requirement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we find apps in Salesforce?
In the app launcher.
In the
Or
app
no,
launcher.
app launcher, yeah.
Where do you control whether or not a user has the permission to view an application?
And profiles.
On the profile. or in a permission set, right? It's the right-hand side of the matrix.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a new app, a recruitment app. Who's it supporting?
The HR users.
Is
Wait.
that a group of users?
Yes.
Yes.
So are we talking about roles or profiles?
Profiles.
Profile side, right?
Yes.
What do they want to give?
Access.
But really, what do they mean here?
Permission.
Permission. They want to give permission to the new app to users. So we have a couple of groups of users here. Everybody get the concept here?
Yes.
How many profiles are there?
Doesn't tell us.
Sorry, how many profiles are there?
Well, it looks like there's two.
How did you? Oh, so I see what you did. You did HR is the one profile,
That's
and
one
then
group of users.
the global recruitment team, I guess, would be the second one.
No, I guess they're all the same, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
So how many profiles are there?
Yeah.
There we go. Who have not used Salesforce before and don't need access to any other apps. All right, so the concept is they only need one app, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how do we make it to where they only see one app?
On the profile.
On the profile, choose one app on the app settings, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, now let's look at our answer set. Clone the marketing user profile.
No.
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 Modify an existing profile and make the app visible.
Mm,
Yeah.
Possibly.
possibly. Yeah.
Use an existing profile and add a permission set for the users to access the app.
No.
See that? That's probably one I would have picked, but that's not right.
I think it works.
You cannot use an existing profile
Why not?
because that will be the out of the box profile. And that will have several permissions.
We know that for sure.
If I think here it means existing profile, out of the box profile.
Okay. Existing standard profile, I would be right there with you. But when they say existing, to me, that could be either or, couldn't it? It just exists.
Yes. That can
So, I mean, I don't know. It sounds okay, but we got two of them that sound okay, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
What's the last one?
Create new, clone it, modify it. Only
That one
see
sounds good too, because didn't we just talk about that we clone profiles?
Well, there's the concept, isn't it? They want you to know that you create a new profile by cloning an existing. It doesn't mean standard.
Mm-hmm.
It means cloning that's something that already exists and then modifying it to only include permissions to the application. Now,
Yeah,
in
that's
my
the
mind, this is a terrible way of doing things. So, I mean, to me, the answers look like to me that they're C or D. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Which one has the most conceptual understanding of profile in it?
Which one?
D.
So I'm
D?
thinking D.
Yeah, that's what I would think
Right.
too.
Well, with C, Ryan, my thoughts are there's already apps being
Yeah, there's
given to
already
existing
other
profile.
apps
Right.
on the existing profile, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so we all in agreement?
I think it's D. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty confident.
Yep.
So, I don't want to steal Focus on Force's stuff here, but it doesn't matter the questions or
Right.
where they came from. What matters is your understanding of the concepts. The only way I would use these to my advantage, I mean, I'm showing you that my system works here. I'm not telling you to go out and get a bunch of test questions.
Right.
But if you were to do that, if test questions are something you just can't stay away from doing, instead of memorizing the answers, use the question to set up the platform to meet the requirement in the question. That's the best use of questions.
Right.
Build context for it. Go and if you don't know the answer, don't just check it to see if it's wrong. configure Salesforce to meet the requirement, and the answer will be evident. Much better way of going about business. These are good questions. So shout out to Focus on Force. Those are good quality questions. I mean, that's a lot like what you would see on the exam for sure. Look and feel. Most definitely. Any questions on questions? Let's see, where's my cursor? There it is. All right. Did anyone else have any questions before we get started? Anybody have any real world stuff they came across they need help with? I thought that was really cool in the last session, how we helped somebody out that way. Because those are the best kind of requirements, the real ones. So if you run into any of those in your day-to-day, bring them in. We'll see if we can help.
Okay, I have one.
Okay. Do you want to share?
Okay. Yeah. You want me to share the screen?
Yeah, there you go.
It's just a requirement. I can explain verbally.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So we have almost 200 values, and the person wants it to be a pick list. Is that a good design?
200 values in a pick list?
Yeah,
What do you think?
that's not a good design.
Yeah, go with your gut there. But it's a really excellent question. I just did this for a client not too long ago. The question is as follows. You tell me if I'm wrong here. If I was to go into like the opportunities, and I were to have a pick list, let's say it's industry. No, I guess there is an industry on this one. Let's say it's type. And I open up this type pick list and there's like 200 values in it. That's what I call a needle in a haystack situation. You do not want to do that, right? Oh, there's a real good example of this. Let me show you a really good example of a poorly constructed pick list. This is the kind of stuff that we all run into day to day, and yet we continue to see it everywhere.
Are you going to show the local time?
Yeah,
Right?
or time zone.
Time zone, yeah.
Yep.
That's awful.
I think the best practice would be here to use dependent pick list, to narrow down the values.
You could, but I'm going to show you the best practice for this. That would
Okay.
not be it, by the way. See this? There's just way too many. So a similar situation that I had recently was county. Let me find it. I have a client that does work in the financing side of things. And they wanted a pick list called county. And there was something like, 100 or whatever, however many counties. I'm just getting my file out here one moment, folks. So instead of a pick list here, what I did is I created a new table called county. What do we call tables in Salesforce?
Object.
So what I would do instead of a dependent pick list or something like that is I create a brand new object called county. You see how I have the name and the state here? So then what I do after I create that custom object is I go in and I use a lookup to that custom object on my object of interest. So if county was on the opportunity, let's say I wanted to put county on the op for some reason, I would put a lookup relationship field looking up to that custom object. So the first thing I would do is create an object called county. I'm creating a custom object right now, which is a table. And then, this is all good times. It's also going to allow me to launch the tab wizard down here, which is going to allow me to create the tab as well as the object. So I'll have the table, then I'll also have the opportunity to create the tab. We're going to cover this very shortly, so don't get hung up if you're lost. These are the tab settings on the profile. So for the county object, I probably don't want them on the bar, but I might put them default off so they're in the area for everybody that's going to use those. And then which app? Well, I'm going to need to put them in some app. So I'll put them in the Lightning Sales app, which is the one that we're using. And it's actually just going to put it in all of them. That's fine too. So now I have an object called county. If I was going to go look at it in schema, don't fall asleep yet. Schema builder. Okay. So then what I can do is clear all of these, and I would grab my county object and then my opportunity object, for instance. Or you know what? I think the account, well, I think the account already has an address field on it, so I'll put it on the account object. You with me so far?
Yes.
So now what I do is I'm going to put a lookup relationship field on the child, which is going to be the account. I'm going to call it county. And I'm going to have it look up to the county. So now I have my parent-child relationship here. See it? So then there's going to be a field on the account record called county that looks up to all of the different entries or rows on that county object.
And that drop-down list, Ryan, did it show you all the lookup fields in the whole schema? Because, I mean, county was there, but how did you, why was it there? Because, I mean, you didn't make a relationship at that point.
Well, here, watch. We're going to cover this shortly, but it's a good segue. So there's no relationship, right?
Right.
So what I'm going to do is use what we call a relationship field data type. I'm just going to drag it onto the child because this is going to be the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So I drag it onto the child, and I'm going to call it county. We're going to relate it back to the county.
Right. So the values there in this drop-down list, how does it know where to look that up from?
Well, I got to add them. So at this point, I would, and we'll cover all of this very soon, but at this point, I would go in and add my field to the page layout, and then I would use the import wizard to import my list, which I'll do in a moment. So here's my account layout. Since I created that field in schema, I have to add it to the layout.
I guess before that step, Ryan, as far as because you dropped the county object into the schema already, when you had that drop-down list, it knew to look and find the county?
Oh, no, I created that through the setup tree. I created that object. I created the county object. It wasn't out of the box.
Right. So all the values that were in that drop-down list, county was in there, right?
No, not yet. I'm going to do that right now. So all I have now is the table. Here's essentially what I've built so far. Get my little pen.
Yeah, I think that's great. So when you will assign the lookup, you will just have to type the related county, and
you just start typing the county that you want, and it'll guess for you.
Yeah.
You with me?
And,
Yeah,
and it won't do that. It doesn't have like the IntelliType or whatever in the standard pick list.
So here's what we've done so far. I created a table called county. And right now it has one field, county name. And that's all we've got so far. I created the tab and I created the table. So now I'm going to take the values that I had and I'm going to use the import wizard. Man, what's this thing keep making two? I'm going to use the import wizard. Let's see here for a second. Okay. I'm going to use what they call the import wizard. And I'm going to have that table in the form of a CSV that I already created with all the counties, in this case in Ohio. So I'm going to come down here and I'll launch wizard. And then we want custom objects. counties, add new records, and I just need to grab my CSV. Didn't work. Try it again. There we go. So there we go. I didn't create a field called state because I'm going to keep this a little bit shorter on the demo side. So now all those counties are going to be imported into that table. So if I go and I look at the app launcher here, oops, not sales. Well, I can just show you on the record. Now, if I go into an account, there should be a field called county that looks up to my county object. This might be over your head, but this is a really good answer to his question. So if I come down here.
That's really great. I want you to stay here forever.
So if we say Adams, you see how it guesses?
Yeah. That
Or
will.
you could just be like, and or if there's a county that's a new county, you just create it. And then the next person that comes along, if they look for Anderson County, there it is. See?
Yeah, great.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that makes user adoption possible. If you're not doing things like that, you end up with the needle in a haystack situation, a pick list with a million values.
Yes.
Nice. Good case study.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Okay, in global search, can we configure the filters? Yeah, normally it refines the search using AND operators. So can we configure the search using different like operators, like OR operators?
You mean the results or the actual search itself?
Yeah, the results actually.
You want different fields than what are showing?
No, I want, for example, when I search something, for example, I will search the account, then it will show some results. Then I want to filter out the fields based on OR operators.
You're probably going to use a report for that or a
Okay.
list view.
Okay. And can we change, for example, when I search on the global search, then it fetches it searches the accounts through account name. Can we change that field?
Can you change this field that it searches based on?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I type in the phone number, it'll search based on the phone number, 336-222-7000. See?
Okay.
So it's already doing that, if that makes sense.
Right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the last thing we discussed is we were down here, right? Profile, permission sets, and then we said, what did this line mean?
Something about trumping, like trumps above on the profile or something. Can't remember. I know it trumps or does something.
Yeah, Trump is in everything else, but it's not in Salesforce. Sorry, you set me up.
Yeah.
So we said, if you have access, if you own the record, what do you get?
Full access.
And then if you've got create, read, and edit up here and read only here, what do you get up here?
Full access.
You got full access, but what will you be able to actually do?
Create, read, edit.
Create, read, and edit. Can you delete? You have full access.
No.
Why can't you delete?
don't have the permission to do that.
Okay. So we got to about this part, and then I layered on field level security. And this one, the reason I put this line here is because then it becomes, instead of being additive, it becomes kind of subtractive or the most restrictive. So if field level security was set to hidden for the rating field, what would the user get up here on every other field? Create, read, and edit. But what would they get on the rating field down here?
Nothing. It'd be hidden.
It would be hidden. What if the opposite was true?
The opposite was true.
So if I have create and read and then read only, what do I get up here?
Create and read.
Create and read. And then if down here I've got view and edit.
Then you're going to get view and edit.
Not down here. What do you got up here?
Create and read.
You basically got read only, don't you?
Why is that? Right?
Well, you got create and read.
Right.
So then if your profile and permission sets won't allow you to do it, you're not going to gain functionality or permissions from field level security. So you would get read only down here as well.
We say create and read, right? So you can create a new record.
Yep.
Correct. And so that rating field is V and E.
View and edit.
Okay, so
But the profile only allows for read. So even though you have field level security that says view and edit, you're still only going to get read because your profile is restricting you here. The more restrictive wins here.
Is there a view only at the rating level, at the field level?
Sure.
Yeah.
Read only.
So if it was read only, then you would see it.
You would see it.
Right, but that edit is
It's the
trumped
key part,
by the read.
So it's always the most, you got to add these first. So you get your access side, whatever it is. Do that first. Then you say, all right, between profiles and permission sets, what do their object settings give them? Create, I always put it up there, but what is create? You know, create doesn't really matter, does it? For our purposes, they're always going to have create, aren't they?
Right. Sure.
Does it ever really matter for a math? So you can say if their profile has create and read and the permission set has read only, what is that? Well, it's basically read only, isn't it? They can still create, everyone. But for everybody else's records, they got what?
Read only.
Read only. So, I mean, you can leave it up there. But either way, if you've got read only here and hidden down here, what do you get? Down here.
Hidden.
They won't see it at all. Everything else will have read only, right? Well, what if I make this create, read, and edit, and I make this read only down here? What are they going to get up here? Create, read, and edit, right? What are they going to get on the rating field?
Read only.
Let me show you. Where do I find field level security? What is it always?
Not when you hit edit. I know that.
Well, it's always a profile setting.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing field level security, when I'm working and I'm doing field level security, I always do it on the profile of interest.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about Joe here, he has which profile? Custom sales. If you didn't know what profile Joe has, where would you go look? User detail record. Good. So where is field level security located?
Down.
If you edit.
Do not hit edit.
Yeah, don't hit edit. Go down.
You won't find it if you do hit edit, because if
There
I
it
do
is.
hit edit, that's where I find my object settings. So if I do hit edit, we can see what the right-hand side of the matrix is going to have. what is he going to have for opportunities on the profile? Create, read, and edit, right?
Mhm.
Yes? So then if I don't hit edit and I look at field level security, and I go to my object of interest, under view, do not hit edit on the profile. Scroll down and find that rating field. Notice that up here you've got read and edit. So if I go down to this rating field, you hit the edit button here. And I make it read only. See that? This would be read and edit. This is read only. This is hidden. So if I make it read only, now we've got what? What's he got on the rating field?
Read only.
What's he going to get up here?
Well, so we get read only on the rating field.
Well, he'll get read only on the rating and create read and edit up here, correct?
Mhm.
Only if he has what? Access, right? So I'm going to go to the rating field here and I'm going to make it read only. Now I want to make sure he has full access to the record. What's the best way to make sure somebody has full access to a record?
Does he own it?
Give him ownership of a record. So I'm going to make sure Joe owns at least one account record. Why do I want him to own it?
To test the permission?
Well, because I want him to have full access so I can test it, right? How do I change ownership? All right, just as such. Now Joe owns the record, so he's got what? For sure, no doubt.
Full access.
Over here, what did his profile give him as far as permissions?
Create, read, edit.
What did we set field level security to?
Read only.
So what's he going to get up here? So for all of these fields, he's going to get what?
Read, edit.
What's he going to get down here?
Read only.
Read only. You guys kind of picking up what I'm laying down here?
Yeah.
I'm logged in as myself, I think is why I can see this. Hang on, I got to log in as Joe. Am I having fun yet? Whoa. Super slow. There we go. So I'm going to log in as my user. And I want to test it. I'll make sure that he's the right profile, which he is. I'll log in as my user, and I want to go to that account record, which is going to be Burlington, as my user. There we go. What level of access does he have? How do you know that?
He owns it.
Because it's record
He
only.
owns the record. What's his profile give him as far as permissions?
See only.
Read,
Create,
edit.
read, and edit. And then on the rating field, he's got set to what?
Read only.
Read only.
Can he view the record?
Yes.
Yes.
Can he edit the record?
Yes.
Could he share the record?
No.
He could. He'd have to switch to classic, right? He'd have to do a manual share, but he could do it if we let him switch back. Can he transfer ownership? Sure he can. He has what? Full access, right? Can he delete the record?
No,
Why not?
doesn't have delete permission.
He doesn't have permission. Good. Why can't I do anything with this rating field?
Set read only. FLS.
It's read only. What level of access does he have?
Full.
Full. Does that mean he can do everything?
Nope.
It depends on what?
Permissions.
Ah.
One
Now
thing
we're
about,
cooking with gas. Go ahead. Question?
one thing about transferring the ownership, we have full access, but we have one permission to create it and edit.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to transfer the ownership, don't we have to on the permission of transfer?
We're talking about access. Does this mean you can actually do it?
No.
No.
So if there is some system permission over here that says transfer, would you need that? Yeah. You got to have both though, right?
Yeah.
Most profiles are already set to transfer ownership if they have the access level to do so.
Yeah.
But if you go and look at the profile, I'm sure if you control F transfer or ownership or owner, there's probably a checkbox in there that allows you to do that. But that would be the permission side of the matrix, right?
Right.
So if you guys haven't done it already, go in to field level security on the custom sales profile for the account object, set the field level security settings to read only for the rating field, and then make sure that Joe has full access to a record, and notice that that rating field is set to read only. If you don't mind, just give me a holler in chat when you get finished. This is a good one. If you have any questions or need help, let me know. I'd be happy to share screen. I'm gonna run upstairs for just a moment. I'll be right back. All right, who needs help? Anybody? Anybody need more time?
Yeah, I need a few more minutes, right?
Okay, that's cool. No problem.
I'm all set now, right?
Cool. Everybody else good? Questions, comments, nasty remarks? All right, now, so what we'll do is let's make it to where it's hidden for Joe. So I'll demo that for you real quick. We have to log out as Joe. I'm going to log back into myself as the admin. Where do we say we found field level security? Where do I like to go? Profile. Do I hit edit?
No.
Nope. So I'll go to my profile of interest. Which is going to be custom sales.
You find going to the profile versus the actual user a better approach?
Well, how are you going to set field level security on the user detail record?
User detail. Well, I'm saying, can't you get to the, from the user, can't you get to the profile?
You can go to their profile. Yeah, there too. No, that's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Okay.
Whichever way's faster. Less clicks is always more. But I go to the profile. I mean, you could start at the user. You're still going to the profile, right? So I always go to the profile of interest.
I guess you don't, if you knew the profile, right? I guess if you start at the user level, you would know the profile by looking at the user.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's if you didn't know what profile you needed to change.
That's right.
I'd probably go to the user detail record and say, who am I? You know, that's definitely the case. So then I'm going to make this one hidden. Come up and save. We already know that he owns the record. So he's got full create, read, edit on the profile. But for field level security on the rating field, we set that to hidden. So now if I log in as Joe, what would we expect to see on that account record?
Rating field.
The rating field would
be hidden.
Gone for that user. Assign that profile. What happens when we change a profile?
What do you mean?
Well, if I change a profile, it changes for everybody assigned the profile, yes?
Correct.
So if I change field level security for a profile, that's all users assigned that profile.
Right.
That rating field is now gone. So let's go ahead and do that one. That one shouldn't take you very long. Just give me a shout when you're finished.
Now, the other question, Ryan, is if you needed to change the field level security for one individual versus for the whole profile.
Okay. So that's an excellent question. Let's do a class case study on that real quick. If you could just refocus your attention to my screen here. What was the use case?
Use case was we only wanted Joe specifically to have a field level security condition applied. Let's just say it's read only for him and not for everyone that has the same profile as Joe.
So if this is the custom sales profile, and this is a cube farm, it's a bunch of cubicles with people in it, right? And there's one person that needs, let's say, read and edit for the rating field. How would we accomplish this? Joe is the only one that needs it.
Permission search.
That's what I would do. So I would set up the profile over here to where they would have, well, whatever they've got up here, create, read, and edit up here. And then let's say there's a permission set for read only or something. And then down here, what would you set the rating field to for the entire profile?
I guess. So what are we giving Joe? So Joe wants read and edit only?
Step one, augment the profile to make it the most restrictive as possible. So what would be the most restrictive on the rating field as far as field level security?
Hidden?
Hidden. Then I'm going to create a permission set that sets it to read and edit. Where am I going to assign it?
To users, Joe, the user.
Joe's user detail record. So now he's got create, read, edit, hidden, but Joe's got read and edit for the rating field down here. It's additive, see?
Mm-hmm.
So what's he get? Well, read and edit. See it?
And if this profile, the profile for the sales user was only set to read, he would just, if he gave the permission set of read and edit, he would still have only read.
Yep. If you got read and edit down here and read only up here, what do you get? Down here. Read only, the most restrictive wins, right?
Right. Regardless if it's set at the FLS level or at the user permission set, sorry.
Yeah, so that you can add field level security to a permission set just like it's any other permission. You with me?
Yeah.
So set your profile up as restrictive as possible. You see why I do all of these best practices like the very first day? What do we set OWDs to here?
Private.
Why?
You only want to give users who create records.
Least restrictive.
It's the most restrictive.
Yeah.
How many profiles would I have here?
Just one.
Just one, because how am I going to give access through the plunge? So if the profile is restricted as possible, remember we went through our profile and took away all the functionality and we set OWDs to private. So if they need access, how are we going to give them access when they call us up as we move through the plunge? What are the ways to give access? Ownership. It's the highest level of access you can give. Full. What happens if I don't own the record?
Role hierarchy.
Depends on OWDs. We set those to private because it's the most restrictive. What are the ways I can give access? Well, one way is using the role hierarchy. So we might create a role hierarchy here. Here's an interesting role hierarchy I've created. Record owners. And everyone else. Why did I do that? Any thoughts?
This is saying that, I mean, it's basically private, right?
Well, yeah, let's say the org is private. Who owns the records?
Record owners.
Record owners. What's the highest level of access they can pass up?
Full.
So what am I doing? I have a private org, but I have eliminated the access side of the matrix. Yes? Why would I do this? Why not just give everybody read write? Just give everybody public read write.
Well, you want to only have the record owners be able to edit the records, correct?
Well, in this particular case, everybody needed full access to all records. Why would everybody need full access to all records? There's one thing they all needed to do, to be able to do. If you get full access, what does that mean?
You edit, share, transfer, delete.
Okay, so if you don't own the record, what is the highest level of access you can get outside of the role hierarchy?
If you don't own the record, the highest level you can get is
CRD?
Read write. If I have read write, can I delete?
No.
So in this case, everybody in their org needed to be able to delete. Why did I do this with the role hierarchy? Just the easiest way to give full access to everybody. Do you see it? Because if they're going to be, if they own records, then what are they going to have?
Full access.
Full. And then everybody else that needs to be able to delete and have full access to those records as well. I just put, that was my role hierarchy.
Mhm.
That's a very simple and almost perfect role hierarchy, frankly. So then what's the other way I can give access?
sharing.
Sharing rules of all different kinds. That's the only ways to give access, isn't it? Except for, can I give access on a profile?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
VAM.
You all modify all, remember?
Yes.
You can do that with profile or permission sets. But generally speaking, how am I giving permissions as we fall through the plunge? Really, on the profile, I'm restricting them, aren't I? So generally, how am I giving them?
Permission set.
Yep. Permission sets with any kind of permissions, including field level security.
Yes.
So as we're plunging, I'm giving access and permission as we move through the plunge. In real time. It's agile development. It's not waterfall. I'm not trying to slay the dragon right at the outset. You know, ta-da, there you go, guys. Have fun with that. You know, that's never going to work. I find one process. I isolate that process. ask the right questions, use the right functionality to meet the requirement as quickly and effectively as possible. If you are highly restricted and you are very, very simple, user adoption is a cinch. It's very, very easy for the user to do their job. You got way too much going on, it's going to be a tough sell. It's a tough sell anyway. Let's take a look at the study guide. How are we feeling about security?
Better.
Better? Anybody using any of this at work yet? You will. Here we go. So let's see how how are you really going to learn security? Well, you're going to have to do it, which we will do some more demos here in a moment. I think those are good as well. But I want to look at the outline again and show you that you may know more than you think conceptually. How do we set password policies in Salesforce?
Some of the profiles.
You can do it at the profile level. You can also do it under security and password policies. Remember, we set it to 3 valid logins. What were our IP restrictions?
Profile.
That's IP range.
You can specify that what IP can log in.
Yeah, it's called it. Well, that would be IP ranges on the profile. IP restrictions are trusted IPs. What they're really talking about here is what we call two-factor authentication. We covered that, right?
I don't think we did.
We didn't? Okay, good.
No.
So 2FA or two-factor authentication, this is exactly what you need to know. Something you have and something you know. What do we have? Well, Salesforce will say the device. What do we know? Well, we know the username and password. So if I go to log in and I have the wrong username or password, what's it do?
Throw an error message.
It says, oh, nope, try again, right? If I do know the username and password, what it does is it looks to the device. Really what it's looking for is a cookie on your browser. If you have the username and password correct and the cookie is on the browser, it lets you right in. No problem. If there is no cookie on the browser, it looks for what's called a trusted IP range. Meaning that you can go in, grab an IP address, put it in trusted IPs, and you will not have to verify for 2FA if you're logging in from that IP. If you know the username and password, it'll just let you in. If you don't have a trusted IP or a cookie on the browser, then it's going to send a verification. It's a 5-digit code. It's going to be in the form of an email or SMS message, whatever you choose. Once you verify, it puts the cookie on your browser. Let me show you how to create a trusted IP. So what I'll have you do is go to the user detail record for yourself. And then in that handy login history related list down here, grab your source IP and then come over here to security. And you want to find network access. This is where you find your trusted IP. Just select new and put your IP in for both. That's called a trusted IP. So now if you were to log in with the correct username and password, even if you didn't have the cookie on your browser, it's going to go ahead and let you in as long as you're coming from that IP. Because that 2FA will drive users insane. That's like when I do a new rollout for a client, I never just send them their login credentials. My personal best practice is get everybody on a Zoom meeting like this, and we're all going to log in together. So I'm not going to send them their password out, their login credentials, until we're all in the room and I can troubleshoot in real time. That is the quickest and easiest way to lose user adoption right off the bat.
Can't log in, I'm done.
Yep, that's it. Well, they're looking for a reason, and you gave them one immediately.
With the trusted IP ranges, though, with DHCP, I guess working from home, doesn't the IP change?
Well, if it does, then what's going to happen?
They'll get prompted for two-factor, right?
Well, if you have the cookie on your browser, you won't get it anyway. It'll only be if you try to log in from a device
Right.
that doesn't have the cookie.
Gotcha. Regardless of the IP. Okay.
I always, if it's a situation where there aren't huge security implications, I always get everybody's IP ranges from their user detail records and just make their IP addresses trusted IPs. Just avoiding potential nightmare scenarios as far as user adoption. I can't even log into the damn thing, right?
Right. But they have to log in for the first time for you to be able to get that.
That's why I always do it when I'm there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But this comes from failing many times at this, right? It's like you learn to not make mistakes by making mistakes. Hopefully you can take some of this stuff and not do some of the dumb things I've done. That would be optimal, right? So that's two-factor authentication. Okay. These should look familiar. What's that? Key points. Org-wide defaults. Manage object level access to records that a user doesn't own. It's the only way to restrict access. If they're set to private, that means the owner gets full, everybody else gets none. Full access means that the user that has full access would have the access to view, edit, share, transfer, and or delete the record. Does not necessarily mean that they can do those things, but they have the access level to do it. If they search for it in the global search bar and they don't have access to it, they will not find it. If it's set to public read only, that means the owner gets full, everybody else gets read only. Public read write, owner gets full, everybody else gets read write. Public read write transfer means owner gets full, everybody else gets read write. What are we transferring? Ownership. What does that mean? We're really transferring full access. Sound familiar?
Yep.
What's the role hierarchy?
Overrides OWDs, uses a system of roles and subordinates.
What's the highest level of access I can pass up vertically in the tree?
Full.
Full access. It's also a template, be assigned to a user or a group of users. What's a sharing rule? What are we sharing?
Access, right?
Sharing access. What's a manual share?
The ability to share access.
To what?
Is to share a record manually, and it's available in Classic.
One record. It's on the record and it's a button in Classic, right?
Right.
See, there's a method to my repetition here. I'm teaching you exactly what's on the study guide. Why? Because that's exactly what's on the test, which is why we're all here. But hopefully in the process of memorizing this jargon, we're going to get effective too. What's a sharing rule? We had a manual share. What's a share?
We can share the records with other people.
Well, click path me to an object level sharing rule.
It's on the left side of the matrix, and you can share the highest access you can give is read write.
Read write's the highest I can give. If you remember, it's under security and sharing settings where OWDs are. It's object level, where we took Western and Eastern. We shared Western with Eastern in a one-way share. And then we did a two-way share with one rule. How did we do that one?
Create two groups, right?
Two public groups. Did that actually share anything?
No.
We actually created one group, added our roles to it, and then shared the group with itself with an object level sharing rule. Remember? Public group doesn't share anything. It's just grouping roles or groups of roles in the hierarchy. Then we can share that group with sharing rules. Given a scenario, determine the appropriate use of a custom profile or permission set. So what custom profile, key points? What's custom mean?
Like we create a profile according to the business requirement.
Okay. In order to create a custom profile, what must I do?
First, we need to copy the existing profile.
Clone
Clone
an
the
existing
standard?
profile. Well, an existing one, standard or custom, right? And then we
Yeah.
can make our own
Yes.
from whatever we chose. What's a standard profile?
Standard profiles are like which is inbuilt in the Salesforce, like
Comes
which
out of the box.
comes out of the box.
Do we change those?
We can modify the configuration, but we can't change them.
Well, should we change them?
Sure.
No, we clone them, create a custom one, and change it. Yes?
Yes.
I never use a standard profile unless I'm in professional or below, ever. Because there's always too much turned on. You can't go into a standard profile and change the object settings.
So why would you use it even in the other? You said professional and below, right?
Yeah, well, you can't create custom profiles in professional or essentials.
Oh, okay. So you have to use a standard.
Yes. I mean, you can create, I think they have a limit to the number of custom profiles you can create, but there's other problems. Basically, they put that limitation in place because they know that's what's going to get you to upgrade. They put these roadblocks in place to force the client to see the functionality problem and then make the choice to go to the next higher one.
Well, you could so if you have a customer that's on essential and you want to give them the most restrictive access, you just modify the standard profile then?
I mean,
what other
well,
choice do you
what I
have?
would do is I would create a custom profile and then restrict it as far as down as I possibly can and save it.
Oh, I thought you said you couldn't create a custom profile in essentials.
Oh, you can't. So you're basically stuck in a standard profile.
Right. And so you just modify that standard profile to make it the most restrictive was my question?
Yeah, I mean, basically all you can do at that point is the tab settings and the app settings. It won't let you change object settings. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it pretty much worthless. I mean, it's not worthless, but essentials, you can only have 9 users. So if you go over 9 users, you have to go to pro. So there's all these little things they do to get you to enterprise.
Right. But even in pro, you're saying you have to use a standard profile. You can't clone and create a custom profile, right?
You can, but there's other limitations. You're basically still stuck.
Right. So you get 1 step forward and 2 steps back still.
Yeah, kind of. But a lot of times they don't know what that means. So sometimes letting them hit head on into a limitation that you told them about 5 times gets them to pull the trigger. Like my last client said, if you would have told me what this was going to entail at the outset, I never would have done it. But I'm so glad I did it. That's the fine line that I travel. It's like if I tell them that it's going to take them 6 months to a year before this thing does what they want it to do, is anybody going to buy from me? Not at $150 an hour, they're not going to. But I tell them the number of hours it'll take, you know, and you tell them 150 hours, it doesn't seem like that much time, but they tend to drag the thing out. I don't. They tend to drag the thing out. There are lapses, and you can tell on my time tracker, it's like, hey, well, why did it take so long? You quoted me a month. I was like, look, you stalled me here for 3 weeks because you didn't want to pay me, and then here for 3 weeks because you didn't want, right? But you got to be able to help them through the rough spots, because I guarantee you when they're plunging, they hate you and they hate Salesforce. Everybody. Even if you warn them, that's going to happen. But the alternative is to just crash the system from the outset, you know, and then they just hate you forever.
So it's control the hate over time.
Yeah. I mean, imagine building a house with your wife or partner. I mean, it's that level of stress for a client, because they have, you know, I don't have employees and stuff. You know, it's like they got to lock their balance in, and this stuff is not cheap, and they don't understand it, and they have to learn too, or they'll never adopt. They're learning all new. It's kind of like you feel right now, only they're running their company too, and they don't really want to be a Salesforce admin. They just want the damn thing to work, right? So it's a fine line. Various profile settings. This one should be pretty easy, right? On the profile, what do I get if I don't hit edit?
Field level security and
Field level security is if you don't hit edit. Field level security, page layout, record type. Yes?
Right.
Then we had app settings, tab settings, system permissions, general user administrative, object settings, desktop integration client, session settings, password policies, login hours, IP ranges. What's permission set?
Permission set gives you an extra, like, it's open the security, like, so
It's
people.
the additional permissions. Additional permissions added to what?
User's profile.
The user deed, not the profile.
Oh, to the user.
They'll call it the user profile, but be careful doing that to yourself. Just user detail record, and it gets assigned to the user. What happens if you change the profile?
It's going to change profile. It's going to change for all users that are assigned to that profile.
And if I assign a permission set to a user, it's just for them, yes?
Right.
Can I take away functionality with a permission set?
No.
No, only additional. Can I take away access with a sharing rule?
No.
No, it's all additive. Both sides are additive except for field level security.
Yeah.
What's field level security? Where do I find it?
The profile?
It's on the profile. If you do not hit edit, scroll down, find your object of interest, go in. You've got view, or you got read, and you got edit. What if read is selected?
It's read only.
It's read only.
Read
What if read and
only.
edit are selected?
Read and edit.
What if nothing is selected?
Yeah.
Field's hidden, right?
It will be hidden.
Yep, it'll be hidden for the user. Assign that profile or assign that permission set, depending. How do we feel about terminology?
You know, there's one thing that I'm still a little confused on, and probably shouldn't be at this point, is the difference between the sharing and the transferring,
Okay.
which I know we've went
So
over.
we're talking about access side over here, right? So if we own the record, what do we got?
Yes.
Full, right? So this is closed out. I don't have to worry about anything else. I've already got the highest level of access you can get. So what if I don't own the record and OWDs are set to private? What do I get here for OWDs? None, right? If I'm not set up as a role in the hierarchy, none. Well, what if I have a sharing rule down here that gives me read only? What level of access am I going to have then? Read only. So if you transfer ownership, what are you transferring?
Access.
Full access. If I share a record, what's the highest level of access I can give?
Read and edit.
Read write. So what's the difference? Well, full access gives you the highest level of access you can get. The most common way of getting it is through record ownership. Can I
So
give full access?
transferring is always full access, right?
What's that?
When you transfer, it's always full access?
Yeah, owner always gets full. Whereas,
Otherwise, it wouldn't be called transfer, right?
well, it's transferring ownership, but really, what are we transferring?
Ownership. What
Right,
else
but-
could it be?
Well, right, but what is the concept behind ownership? What are we really transferring?
Access.
It's the full access, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what ownership gives us. Is it's like, you know, keys to the castle for that record as far as access. You don't have to go any further. Doesn't matter what any of this other stuff says. If you own it, you've already got full, and it's got, you know, it doesn't matter what everything else is.
Still dependent on your permissions, though.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Right,
for sure.
right,
Always dependent.
right.
What you can actually do is
Mhm.
going to be over here.
I have a silly question to ask.
Okay.
Can you have more than one person or user that have full access?
Yes. Let's think about the ways that someone can get full access again. So if you own the record, what do you get?
Full access.
Full. That's one way. Can I get it through OWDs?
No.
Nope. Can I get it through the role hierarchy?
Possibly?
Yeah, the highest level of access you can give with the
It's
role
full.
hierarchy is full. So that's another way to get it without owning it. That's one way to get it without owning it. See it? You could get full access through the role hierarchy. What's another? Can I give full access through sharing?
No, because it's only read and write.
Only read write. Very good. See the method of my madness here? What about profile? Can I give full access on a profile?
No, because you cannot delete.
Well, what if I have view all, modify all on the system permissions? What's that give me?
Super user.
Highest level of access.
Full access. Okay.
That's what the admin has. You see that? The administrator is getting full access because they have view all data, modify all data, and set up and configuration. That's what makes us an admin, essentially. So now if I give view all, modify all on our system permissions on the profile, or for a permission set for that matter, I can do it at the entire org level for the system permissions, or we can do it in the object permissions, just for one object. So what are the ways that I can get full access?
Roles and hierarchy. and
Ownership,
pro.
control hierarchy, view all, modify all. You with me?
Yes.
Now, there's another part to your question. And this is the question I thought you were going to ask. And this ended up being the answer to your question, but I thought it was a valid question that I thought were starting to ask, where you're saying, can more than one person own a record, is what I thought you were going to say.
Yes, that's my second part of the question. Thank you.
Okay. So can more than one user own a record? How many users can own a record? Anybody know?
Only one.
Just one. However, there's a workaround on this. And the example I like to give is if you've got the state of Ohio here, very bad picture of state of Ohio. And let's say I've got Ryan, Joe, and Sally, and they all work the state of Ohio. And let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different leads that come in to the state of Ohio. Well, who gets them? It's a good question. So what we do in this situation, since only one user can own records, is we create something called a queue. We add the users to the queue, and then the queue ends up owning the records. So the Ohio queue owns all of these records, and everyone in the queue gets full access as if they did. So what happens then is they're all just running that list view all day long, and they go in and they grab them and change ownership to themselves. What happens if they change ownership to themselves? What are they passing? So everybody else has what? If OWDs are private, the queue owns the record, which means they all have full access. Ryan, using transfer ownership, transferred the record back to himself. What's he got?
Full access.
Full. What's everybody else have?
No access.
None. Do you see how that works?
Yeah.
Let me show
Is
you.
it the same as opportunity teams? Is it a queue?
No, this is called a queue that I just created.
Uh-huh.
So if I go to users, oh, it's actually under queues here. And I might create the Ohio sales queue or something. This is going to be leads. So then I add Joe and myself. So we're both assigned the queue. Then I can take the queue and I can make the queue the record owner.
And if you wanted the other sales reps to be able to see the record still, that's going to be a change in the OWD.
Well, the others assign the queue, you mean?
No. So let's say you assign one of the records yourself out of the queue, right? And so
One sec here. Let me
Yeah.
make this queue. There we go. Now the record owns the queue, right? So now Joe and I both have full access to this record because we're both in the queue. So what was your question?
my question is, once you assign the record to yourself,
So then if I go in and I make this Ryan, now who owns the record?
now you own it.
Now I own it, so I have
Full.
So what's everybody else get?
Nothing.
Well, that depends on the rest of the matrix, the left side of the matrix.
Right. That's what my question was. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, if in OWD you have private, I guess read only, then everyone else still sees it.
If it's private and there's no other security settings, they won't see it anymore.
Sorry, I guess if it's public read only,
If it's public read only, everybody will have read.
right? That's
Owner
what my
gets
question was.
full.
Right. You know, because if someone says, well, what happened to this record that was sitting here yesterday? Someone took it.
Mhm.
I would like to see who owns it.
Oh,
The
well,
only way
that
I
would
can-
depend on OWDs.
Right.
Really, the process here, if this was the use case, is you're trying to get a healthy competition between salespeople to check that incoming leads list view.
Mm.
Everybody needs to be checking this thing, because what happens if you don't?
People are going to start signing opportunities themselves.
Oh, yes, they absolutely. You're going to see a whole lot of this, aren't you? Isn't that what you want to see as an org?
Well, assuming that they're being worked after they're transferred.
Well, then the question becomes, are they doing their job after they take them? Which is
Right.
even more important.
Right.
You're just cherry picking all the leads and not taking care of them. That's going to be a problem. I'm going to see that in about 5 seconds.
Hey, Ryan, I have a
Yep.
question regarding the queue. Is that something where you could have, let's say, the team hoard the leads? Like
That's what he was just talking about.
Right. You have to assign them. You go in there before everyone shows up for work that day, and Ryan steals all the leads. You come in and your queue's empty, or the queue is empty because Ryan's already went in there and took them all.
Yeah, well, what you're going to see there real quick is either we don't need that many salespeople, or somebody's hoarding the leads. How would you tell if somebody was hoarding leads?
Look at the.
you can run a report to see who the new owner is.
Yeah, how long is it taking them to follow up? When's the last time it was modified? Who took the lead? Do you see how the database can tell us all this stuff pretty easily? I just be like, Joe, stop hoarding all the leads, dude. You're not following up with them.
Can they be distributed evenly, these queues?
Ah, the round robin lead question. What I would tell you there is it can be done, but you don't want to try that sorcery. There's a whole lot about this on as far as knowledge articles, etc. on the success community. I looked into it really seriously, and I got about halfway through my research, and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. And we just did queues. Salespeople are by nature competitive, usually, if they're any good. And I've worked in several situations as a salesperson, one of which we had what was called an up system, where if they came to the door, that was your person and nobody else was allowed to talk to them. Kind of like going to a restaurant in the States. The other side of the coin is whoever brings them to the table and gets them to sign gets it. And there's value to both. Kind of depends on the model. I would say with the process builder, you could probably do this in such a way to where it wasn't. But let's put it this way. If your sales team is that nasty, you have a cultural problem. And you're going to see real quick who's doing it. Because we can all, what I would say is we're all going to be looking at the same dashboards for performance anyway, aren't we? We're going to have certain metrics that we're expected to meet. And if you don't meet those metrics and you got all the leads, then, what have you been doing? I'm just not a big fan of making things super complicated when it can be done with already accessible and standard functionality. It probably doesn't seem like it's in my best interest as a consultant, but I'll tell you, I keep clients. I don't lose clients because I'm always looking out for their dime, and I'm always trying to make it as simple as possible. And I'm not trying to immediately start writing Apex code every chance I get so I can become, the white wizard behind the scenes all the time. Anytime there's a change, you got to ask me. I mean, that's what a lot of firms do. Make lots of money doing it too. But I like to take an organization that isn't operating necessarily effectively and, orders of magnitude increasing the return on investment for the time spent on me. To where when they have a problem, they come to me. That's what you want to be as a problem solver. If you can't do it, you probably know somebody that does. If not, you can do a LinkedIn search and have a conversation. There's a lot of independent contractors out there willing to work that know their stuff. It doesn't take long to find them either. Go to your local user group meetings, meet some of those folks, independent contractors that are out there living life on the edge. You know, they don't have a cushy corporate job. They're out there trying to do this thing and make money for people and make a little money for themselves. Those are the people you want to meet, people that actually work projects, either for large corporations and have been, you know, in the trenches fighting the enemy hand to hand, or somebody like me that's just worked a lot of projects and School of Hard Knocks. Listen to those people. All these 8-10 times Trailhead Ranger folks, God love them. You know, that's great. Let me see a project you've worked. So that being said, let's I'll go ahead and do like a little preamble here. For homework, maybe I'll just do the preamble next time. Let me see. Actually, I think I have a paying gig coming up here. Let me see. I was just thinking about this last night. Okay, so this coming week, today's the 16th, right? All right. So yeah, we'll have Tuesday and Thursday, but the next week I'm going to have to cancel that week. But hopefully we'll have a bunch of project work for you to be working on, so you can use that time to work on your projects and stuff. But I have a paying gig from 10 to 7 that week, so I can't do Tuesday and Thursday. But the week after, so the 5th, we'll be back live again. I'll put all this up so everybody can see it. But 27th through the 1st, that week, we will not have classes, but I will return the week after. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that a new client or just an existing one where you're going in and doing some additional?
It's training.
Okay.
I'm doing this training in 40 hours, basically. Well, it's not this exact training. I'm doing a curriculum for another client of mine, but it's admin app builder training like this. But that's good because that pays the bills. Right. I took a huge hit on clients that weren't able to pay me. I mean, like a lot of money. So I'm just glad to have income at this point. Let's see here. So Trailhead homework. Let's do in admin beginner. What have we done so far? I believe we've done getting started with the platform. Security, if you haven't done security yet in Dev Beginner, please do. That's really, really important. I would say it overshoots anything I assign here. Reinforce the security knowledge as soon as possible. Let's do this lightning experience customization. And this is where we're going to start on Tuesday. So the next piece of the class, as far as the study guide goes, is as follows. Remember, we're kind of following the study guide as an agenda. We need to do some review, some holistic review too. Maybe we'll, that's what we'll do when we come back on Tuesday, is we'll do like a holistic review of everything we've covered on the study guide so far, just for the repetition, Socratic method, terminology and concept. And then, so we'll cover this, and this. And then once we do that, that'll probably be the first hour or so. And then the second hour, we'll start here. We've already done some of this, but we'll start back. We'll kind of get back into where we were initially. We'll talk about the other relationship types. And then we're going to get into the true administrator stuff. So instead of who sees what when, it's more along the lines of where is stuff going to go? How's it going to look? How do we create fields? How do we manipulate page layouts? More importantly, how do we create an application from scratch that works? So this entire section here is extremely important. What we're going to be doing is a project. Let's see, where did I put that thing? So I've been working on this for, I don't know, a couple years now, just slowly. It's a great project, but I'll throw this up here and I'll put it in chat for you via a link from Dropbox. So this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of the class, using what we've already learned, as well as the new stuff that we're going to be learning. But what is it that GenWatt sells?
Generators.
Generators, right? So what and we've kind of been talking about how we would set up standard functionality to meet that process. We discussed the stage, pick list, et cetera, and how that's our business process. But for our project here, we're going to be setting up a whole new side of their business, which instead of burning dinosaurs, we're going to burn renewable energy fuels. Solar is pretty much where we're going to start. So we're going to create an application and a business process that meets the requirement of this new side of our business. So if you want to look through this, it'll be everything that we do moving forward is all going to be aligned toward creating this working application in classic mobile and Lightning. So we will build this thing. You'll have it in your own org and you'll be able to say, hey, look, I built this. And we'll just keep adding to it. We'll start at the very bottom and we're just going to continue to build this thing until we've exhausted those study guides with functionality. When we're done, we'll have a working application. Questions? Sure, there's lots. Save them for Tuesday. Feel free to look through it. We've already done some of this. If you go through and look, you'll notice that security has pretty much already been set up for us. You just have to document it for yourself. Usually what I do is I have people turn this project in. I won't have you guys do that unless you want to. But documenting these things is very important. And you'll notice in my documentation that I use screenshots to document. I'm not writing out 1,000 hours worth of content here. If you can't read the screenshot, you probably don't understand Salesforce enough to understand the project in the first place. You see this?
Are you sending that out or?
Oh, if you didn't get it, the link is in chat.
Yeah.
It's a
There's a
Dropbox
link.
link. So other than that, that's what we're doing moving forward. Hopefully everybody learned something today. I feel like today was a good day. Had some aha moments maybe. I'll leave the floor open for a minute here for questions or comments, but other than that, I'll see you all on Tuesday. Thanks, Chris. See you soon, bud.
Thank you, Ryan. Would
Right.
today's session be on before Monday on
I'm
YouTube?
gonna try. It takes so long to render these things, even
I
just 2
bet.
hours. But I try to get them. I'll try to get them both. I think I got. Is today 7? I think today was 7. I think I have through 6 up there, and I'll try to get 7 up before Monday.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan, do we need any type of permission to access your Dropbox
I don't
file?
think so. I don't think so.
So if we've never, or at least recently, enrolled in Dropbox, we can just create an account and access this?
Yeah. They have a free version of the account you can use.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone, have a great afternoon. Take care of yourselves. Stay healthy.